The big number. I guess I just want to share my story, vent, and see if anyone has something to add that I might have overlooked. I'm confident that I'll be called a beta, a rug sweeper, etc. But I can handle the criticism. Both my wife and I are 38, she's 4 months older. We've been married for 15 years. She's gorgeous. I'm in shape and I guess I'm okay looking. But I have confidence issues because I went bald at a young age. We started dating when I was a senior in high school and she was a freshman in college. After dating for a couple years, we had a falling out and broke up. Our paths crossed again after being apart and we fell madly in love again. It was like we tested the waters and realized what we had. Soon after we got back together, bam, she was pregnant. My mother is Catholic. My father isn't very religious. Our families, particularly my mother, strongly encouraged us to get married. I was for it and figured that if we had gotten back together after being apart, we were clearly meant for each other. I was just finishing my bachelor's. We were fairly young and, in the hustle and bustle, I perhaps made the biggest mistake ever. I didn't have a big, romantic marriage proposal. We got married and had our first boy, who is now 15. Things seemed good for the first 5 to 7 years. I did, like many husbands it seems, take my wife for granted at times and maybe I didn't focus on our marriage as I should have. I was playing in a band, working 40 hours a week and hanging with my guy friends regularly. I would say I would do an extracurricular activity 3 times every 2 weeks. She had similar freedom to do things she wanted to do as well, but I was gone more than she was. We also had another boy about 4 years after our first son was born. He's now 11. Both kids are incredible. She started a new job. About 2 years into the new job, 2008, I recall her telling me that this single guy from work had been texting her to ask her about a single female co-worker he was interested in. If I would have only known then what I know now after reading this forum. At the time, I didn't think much of it and I told her I appreciate her being upfront about it. I was trying to be confident and show that I trusted her. A few signs occurred between 2008 and August of 2011, when the crap hit the fan, D-Day. Sometimes it just felt like something was off. One time she was out for a rare girls' night out and I saw pics of her without her wedding ring on. She said she wanted to wear a fun ring that didn't fit when the wedding ring was on. I told her that this wasn't okay. She apologized and said she didn't realize that it would offend me so much. Also, she was losing weight and looking great. I just figured she wanted to get back to her weight before having kids. In this time, our bedroom life was good in my opinion, 2 to 3 times a week. It was around May of 2011 when she told me that a coworker who she was training asked her how her husband proposed. This coworker was going to propose to his fiancée. She cried on the way home that day. At this time, it seemed like she was becoming distant. I apologized and basically told her that I felt we both knew we were meant to be together. It was sort of a given, etc. This was like a slap in the face type of wake-up call. I forgot to mention how she phrased it. Why are we married? You didn't even propose to me. Anyhow, this kind of sent me into a tailspin, downward spiral. I started losing confidence, getting depressed, looking for clues as to if there was someone else in her life that I wasn't aware of. I basically told her that I was sorry for the past. If you don't want to be married to me, just let me know. She basically replied that she was a big girl and knew that already, but she loved me. I was a good father, etc. Also, during a different conversation, I was talking about this sleazy guy at work who had a few affairs and actually had slept with a few different ladies, some married, right at work. I sort of wanted her to know that I wasn't tolerant of that sort of behavior. It disgusts me, etc. She basically said, "Have I given you any indication that I've been unfaithful?" But she never came straight out and said those exact words I was hoping to hear. So, around midsummer of 2011, I really started digging. I checked out our cell account and I was a bit shaken. I saw this number that she would text. It would be like 5 texts back and forth one day, then nothing for 3 days, then 90 in one day. Quite sporadic. I reverse searched the number and found out it was the guy from work that she had mentioned back in 2008. My mind was blown. I was sick to my stomach. But again, sometimes there would be no texts for a week, then a few, then nothing. It only went back 3 months. Of course, the next thing I did was check the phone itself. I found that his contact info number was conveniently missing. Mine was just racing. So, I then looked for texts, nothing. She obviously deleted them. I did find 4 draft texts that weren't sent. The 4th one sounds like someone needs some fun. Clearly, number 4 above concerned me. I tried to slice it and dice it every way I could. My wife can swear like a sailor at times, so it could have been something like sounds like someone needs to grow up, or something like that. So, instead of doing what a smart person would do and gather evidence, I bottled it up for a couple days, looked at her call history, which went back 12 months. There were about 6 calls, nothing too crazy. There was a concert in town that I had gotten tickets for months prior. I went but couldn't enjoy it. I came home and told her I had a headache. I also asked if there was anything she wanted to talk about or if there were any problems in our relationship she wanted to discuss. She replied no, but she was worried about me because I wasn't acting normal. Definitely true. The next day I was at work when I realized you can see up to the minute usage. There was a ton of texts the day before, about 90. I just couldn't handle it. I drove home and said, "We need to talk." So, I take her into our bedroom and ask, "Do you know whose number this is?" And I rattled off the number, which is now forever etched into my brain until the day I die. She replies questioning if it's a couple different girls from work. I just laid there looking at the ceiling. She knew that I knew. She told me it's this guy from work. He's an alcoholic. I give him dating advice and kind of live vicariously through that fantasy because we don't go on many dates, etc. He's depressed. This has only been going on for 6 months or so. He told him at work that she can no longer be his shoulder to cry on, that they can no longer talk about personal issues, etc. I guess you would call it a no-contact letter, to a degree. She clearly knows that she hurt me, nothing physical happened. She loves me, she wants to work on the marriage, and we should start going to a marriage counselor right away. We went to around 6 sessions. In hindsight, we should have gone to a different counselor. I was so stupid. His counselor had the don't play old tapes approach. This was so convenient for my wife. I, not knowing any better, agreed with the counselor because she's an expert, you know. While we were going for counseling, I tried digging up more info, looking at bank, credit card info. I didn't find any evidence. In my heart, secretly, I just found and still find it hard to believe nothing physical happened. Something I forgot to mention. I've known this girl since I was 15. Back in the good old days, her and her group of girlfriends hung out with my group of guy friends. So, my good guy friends know my wife well, in a platonic way only. I talked to 2 of my best friends about the issue in confidence. They both unconditionally said they understand my concern, but they both 100% think she would never do that to me. She truly is just that nice of a person and her boundaries weren't well established. She is sort of the caretaker type of person. Due to the job market and per the advice of the expert, I didn't force her to quit her job. She still works there to this day. The OM is either married or engaged, not like that matters. I've never contacted him. Going back in time and remembering other points, about a year after D-Day, I quietly still wanted to investigate the past. I put a free keylogger on the PC and obtained her username and password for both her email and FB account. In her email I saw her Google search history. In 2008 she looked up emotional affair versus friendship. Also, there was a time when she looked up a restaurant close to OM's B-Day when I was out of town camping with my boys. I haven't asked her about that, and frankly she could have easily been meeting 2 of her girlfriends in the town in question. Her cell location records do confirm that she didn't stay in that town, and my mother-in-law was living with us at that time, so there's no way she brought him to our house. But, when I checked her FB in August 2011, I did find a deleted message to OM from March of 2012, 6 months after D-Day. The message was basically saying she was angry with him because he had stated that she wasn't helping him. She plays a support role. This really pissed me off because this was a violation of no personal contact. She said she was sorry, but clearly the message was angry in tone and she didn't want to tell me because it would only add stress to an already stressful situation. I told her this was not acceptable. She understood, etc. Here's where you guys rip me apart. Bottom line. Basically, I feel like we rug-swept issues. I feel like she has done much to prove she loves me. I didn't force her to quit her job. I feel like I'm screwed either way because I sort of agreed to put the whole thing past me when we were in counseling. If I press the issue, she will again say that nothing physical happened. I guess that's the main problem. I feel like there is no way an emotional affair could last 3 years without going physical. If I find out it did, I will need to get out of this marriage. She insists nothing physical happened. Upon conducting my research, I've never found proof. Some days are good. Then I remember the past and I tell myself just to say screw it. Then I think about my kids. This situation is just so frustrating. Are 100 texts to a friend normal? Is it normal to clearly hide information about a secret friend for 3+ years normal? I mean, she cried when I confronted her, so she knew that what she was doing was wrong. I hear what you're saying though. In trying to recall, type this all out, I forgot to mention that in counseling I actually asked if the emotional affair had gone physical. She took about 20 seconds to answer and she was choking up. It was like it was different since there was a third party present and she needed to think about the answer. I've ordered old cell phone bills. They give the number called and the location. I just ordered one from July of 2009 when I was out of town. I find myself thinking back on everything that happened and trying to piece the puzzle together. That bill should be in my mailbox by this Thursday. I just want to leave no stone unturned. There is a good chance you're right. It's almost like if it did happen, she has a great reputation for being a great, kind, caring person and a good girl. Sometimes I wonder if she would simply take it to her grave if it did happen. You know what I mean. I'm not really worried about the now part of the equation. She doesn't lock or hide her phone from me. The only possible concern is that the OM might have an iPhone as well and those don't show up on the bill or whatever. I'm pretty sure she isn't dumb enough to communicate with him via any other electronic method other than company email, which I obviously don't have access to. She's told me a couple times that she knows how much she hurt me and that she thinks about it every day. Maybe I will rake a multi-pronged approach, do whatever further research can be done, and explain that I'm struggling to get this out of my brain, knowing that this jerk still sees her every say, and that she really needs to look for a new job. I don't know. I've also thought about exposing his true nature to his wife, fiancé. Every man knows that texting a married woman 100 times per day is simply not right. Probably too late for that. It's just a never-ending roller coaster ride, damn it. Keep in mind, this was said 3 months before D-Day. It was like she was kind of avoiding the question. In hindsight, it's like, how dare you say that to me when you were, in fact, hiding a deep dark secret. This whole situation has turned me into a PI, which is something I never was before and something I never wanted to be. It's like I have a secret life of deep dark spying now, and I damn near need to keep my phone locked. Just a sad situation. Just to paint a better picture, she's only said this 2 to 3 times in 3 years. It comes up when she thinks I seem down or depressed. The depression is, in my opinion, largely due to my pseudo-PTSD. By the way, I'm not trying to minimize soldiers or others with true PTSD, but it kind of feels like I get it at times. I just obsess about it. By the way, after marriage counseling, I went to IC. This counselor was kind of trippy, talking about inner self and dream interpretations. When I described the whole EA, possible PA, the counselor was like, everyone makes mistakes, do you love her and want to move forward, and crap like that. Basically, telling me to turn a blind eye and move forward. I just don't understand why every counselor seems to just want to brainwash you to make everything magically go away. My gut says it went physical. It really does. Then I think about what my friends who know her very well stated. My one friend told me that it's like I won't be satisfied until she admits it. My heart, on the other hand, says no, she may have crossed boundaries, but she wouldn't do that to you. My wife did write out a timeline, but it was interesting wording. For instance, she said that she could recall 4 times that he went with the work gang for happy hour. That doesn't state any other possible times they saw each other outside of work. Crap like that. Folks would say I allowed this to happen. I'm a beta, etc. I didn't make my wife quit her job, and we sort of went through 2 D-days. Thanks for not bashing me. By the way, on the second D-Day when I found the FB message, she deleted her account because she said that she didn't want me to have to be wondering if she was communicating with him. This was a clear violation of our agreement. She still doesn't know that I can see her Gmail history. She doesn't know it exists. All her friends are on FB and she never made a new account. Our bedroom life is good to this day. She seems to be into me. There are other minor things that I haven't mentioned, but again, no proof. It's hard to spell this all out. I mean, we're talking about events that cover 6 years here. This wasn't just me accusing her at the drop of a hat. This was her texting a guy from work, who in my opinion was attracted to her, for 3+ years, in secret. She didn't tell me about it, deleted the texts and deleted his contact info. I mean, on D-Day I flat out asked if she knew what this number was and she played dumb. She had texted him 90 times the day before. She cried upon confrontation. If it was just me being weak and jealous, one would think she would have reacted differently. I've strongly considered this poly option. We kind of touched base previously on the thread. It's kind of an all-in situation. I fear that she may just decline the poly and say something like, you'll never get over this, and throw in the towel. It's just not a step I'm ready for yet. It's kind of a big gamble. She started losing weight right around the same time that the EA started. She's always dressed very fashionable though. Bedroom life was and always has been good. One comment that has bothered me is that once during the summer of 2011, after the whole "why are we married" discussion was had, we were talking about physical frequency. She said something like, you've always got it a lot. There are guys out there who only get it once a month. Then she referred to one of her girlfriend's husband, who apparently only wanted it once every couple weeks. This was prior to me discovering the texts. So just to clarify, the whole "why are we married" proposal discussion led to me snooping, which led to discovery of the text, which led to D-Day, confrontation. I am also a beta, to a degree, I guess. I've been told that I tend to be on the sensitive side. Growing up in a neighborhood with literally all girls and an older sister appears to have had an effect on shaping my perspective. I do manly stuff with my friends and my kids, 2 boys, and try to set a good example for them. Around 3rd grade, I finally started hanging with boys a few blocks away. By the way, I'm definitely into women. I'm expecting to now be told that I'm not attractive to women with sort of attitude. Again, just putting this stuff out is hard. We both read 5 languages of love. We tried to start communicating more and the results were good. Keep in mind, this was 3 years ago. We have worked on the marriage and things are good. The only bad part is that I'm the kind of person who needs to know everything. Also, I'm a root cause, problem solver type of person. So, my brain can't seem to grasp how this a whole wouldn't have put the moves on her. Again, it's not all the time. I get in ruts and sort of flash back to the EA, then my brain won't shut off for a while. Then it subsides and rears its ugly head a few weeks later. The roller coaster rides that infidelity seems to cause. As far as all the phone records, I could only see 3 months worth of text data and 12 months of calls, locations. Believe me, I've sliced and diced that information many times. Here are all the signs, clues that I found. The texts weren't consistent, as you mentioned. One of the days really stood out, looking at the time frames of the texts. It's hard to explain and wordy, but here it is, and it's going to possibly sound crazy. We had a small car and an SUV. I normally drove the SUV. This was 4 months prior to D-Day and even before the wedding proposal conversation, so everything was fairly normal at the time. The small car needed to be fixed, so I took the day off and went to her uncle's garage for the day. She took the SUV, which has extremely dark tinted windows. I remembered that night coming home and seeing this black mark on her shirt. I jokingly asked if she had been crawling around the back of the SUV because I had previously had that happen to me when I folded the back seats down and I was hauling something. It's basically the floor mat. She replied, I don't know, maybe a cigarette ash. We both smoked at the time, both quit since. There's no way a cig ash would make this kind of mark. Anyhow, later that night I went outside and opened the back door of the SUV. The seatbelt was caught behind the seat or whatever. In other words, the seat had clearly been down. Since I normally drove that vehicle at the time, I made mental note of this because I know I didn't put it down. Then, 3 months later, after discovering the texts, I checked the day in question. Only a few texts, but important timing. She texted him early around 7 when he apparently worked a later shift, 9 or so. He texted back right away. Then, she texted him around her lunchtime. Then, she left work. Sometimes they get out early if there isn't much work. So, in my possibly warped mind, wonder if she did something in the back of our vehicle at work. I've never discussed this with her because I know she'll say I'm crazy and she would be highly offended. I can actually imagine if I brought this up. Could it, in theory, have happened? Yes. Could it have been coincidences that just make it appear bad? Yes. She works at a large company with surveillance. So, again, my warped mind seems to think if there is a will, there's a way. This is the gut feeling. I ran this by my guy friends and they think it's crazy. These are the 2 close friends that have known her for years since we were kids. Then, there is that damn draft text that I found. Sounds like someone needs to have fun. I asked her about this and she said she truly doesn't recall. This was like the first weekend after D-Day, during hyperbonding or whatever it's called. Then, I saw the Gmail Google search history. She had looked up a restaurant in D-Bag's hometown at the time. She looked it up a week prior to being there. That was right around his birthday. I was out of town at the time, camping with my boys. The only linking evidence was a CC transaction at this joint. The phone records didn't go this far back, so I ordered them. Nothing damning there. They only show calls, locations, and number of texts, not the actual text data. So, these are the pains I deal with. She's truly a special person. I know this sounds cliché, but even neutral outside people who have no stake in the situation have told me this, unsolicited. So, during the good parts of the roller coaster ride, I think, man, I've got this beautiful, smart, kind woman who loves me, is remorseful, etc. Why can't I just accept this, believe her, and enjoy our life and marriage? Then, a while later, something will trigger my gut and I'll go back to wanting to know everything and find the conclusive evidence. During our MC, I told the C that I felt I was played for a fool. This bothered my wife, but I felt it was true and needed to be said. She is a caretaker type, but she minimized things when initially confronted, and later I found out the truth. For instance, at first, she told me that it had been going on for 6 months or so. But later, in her timeline, she admitted they texted on and off over the years. Her Gmail history, which she has no idea about, shows she looked up emotional affair versus friendship in August 2008. So, for 3 years, how could this have gone on with no physical contact? Am I a moron to believe this? That's the root problem here. I refuse to be played for a fool, and if it did get physical, I believe I'm out, regardless of how many lives are affected. It seems highly unlikely. However, I have no proof, obviously. I really doubt looking at her phone for current stuff will result in anything. She probably only told her one best friend, who is, ironically, a marriage counselor herself. Then I think, well, if her friend knows about it, is she a toxic friend? My wife doesn't protect her phone. She gave me her passwords. If anything, the VAR idea would only work under perfect conditions. I would need to cause a stir and she would need to talk to her MC friend at the right place at the right time. By the way, before my scatterbrain forgets, after I saw the drafts, confronted, etc., I checked her phone and lo and behold, she deleted the drafts. When I mentioned that I saw her drafts, she said, "Oh, you saw the one that said WTF." She didn't bring up the sounds like someone needs to food draft. So, of course, I did. She downplayed it and played the I truly don't remember card. So, it's this microanalyzing stuff that I deal with. Clearly, of the 4 drafts, the most concerning one isn't the one she brought up. Again, minimization. There is a whole bunch of small details but no proof. As they say, the devil's in the details. I get that she was trying to not hurt me, but honestly, I deserve the truth. All this said, when we're with each other, things are good. I just need to find out the truth and get past this. I realize that it's unhealthy and not a positive contribution to the marriage. I just don't want to destroy our family and everything we've invested and blow this up without more info. I do admit I made some mistakes and partially contributed to our marital problems, but I do not accept responsibility for her affair, whether it was an EA or an EA turned into a PA. At the time this whole SUV thing happened, I had no idea what was going on, except that things were sort of distant. The bedroom life was still normal, 2 to 3 times per week. I'm an observative and protective person. Here's a clarification. 1. I saw the mark on her shirt. 2. That same night, I found the seatbelt thing. The seats were not actually down, however, the seatbelt was stuck behind the seat, which means that it certainly looked like they may have been down previously. 3. After I discovered the text data, 3 months later, I saw the time frames. I just thought it was very strange that she would have texted him that early. What was so goddamn important to text him that early? My warped mind thinks the worst. Hey, make sure to shower before you come into work. That sort of thing. She was living a fake life. She did make these choices and keep them secret. I will never forget when the initial confrontation happened. She lied right to my face about not knowing his number. I brought this up on D-Day number 2, which was about a year after D-Day 1, previously mentioned. She responded, saying that I'll never get over it. She also said she broke the trust of the marriage, but again, stated that she never cheated. How many times do we have to go over that? I was happy to hear her say that she broke the trust because it was an acknowledgement of what damage had been done. However, this is where the beta in me came out. I told her that I would be able to get over it if she was just honest about it and told me everything. The PA thing was a known deal breaker, obviously. She said she already did tell me everything and that the FB message was wrong, but she didn't think it would do any good to tell me that she told him off. I probably just should have walked away then. But it was the whole issue with breaking up the family, etc. She immediately canceled her FB account because she didn't want me to not trust her. She still hasn't sent her FB account back up. I've got one elder cell bill that I should get tomorrow. I could provide relevant info. After that, there's little left to research. I sound like a pathetic beta. My plan of action is to see the doctor about a possible prescription, get IC from a C that focuses on infidelity, PTSD. Then, eventually, I will have another talk with her and be ready to walk if she doesn't want to fight to save our marriage and help me get past it. I just again need to add that when I'm with her, things are good and my mind doesn't wander. She's truly a great person, beautiful woman and great mother who, at a minimum, crossed boundaries. Call that beta, call it what you want. Maybe it's my depression and more about me why I can't let it go because I won't be played for a fool. So, I got that cell phone bill mailed to me in August, and there was no damning evidence. I thought things were going pretty well, but in mid-January, her grandpa passed away. She was extremely close with him. He pretty much served as her father figure when she was growing up. Since then, she's slowly become cold. Last Monday, we had a blowout and didn't talk the entire week. We finally talked on Friday, 2 days ago. I've been sleeping alone and there has been no physical contact. She's lashing out at me, rehashing all the issues that we've already gone through. It's like she's no longer into me. She is, however, going to IC this week, so I am giving her space. She says she needs to sort her feelings out. She hasn't gone to IC for years, so this is something new. I'm trying to hang tough, but deep down, I'm dying inside. In doing so, I started wondering if there's any funnier business going on. So, I reviewed the cell bill, back to my old tricks. What I found concerned me. It wasn't the same number as before, but there's a number showing up a few times a month. Ironically, it's very similar to my number. I've tried reverse lookup through several sites to no avail. I never get a chance to have access to her phone, except a minute here or there. I did a spotlight search and the number isn't in her contacts. I badly want to ask her, but also want to do my recon before doing so. The odd part is that she got some inheritance money and she booked a family trip for us to go to Vegas at the end of March. She did this after the blowout. Weird, I'm about to lose it. I guess I will suffer through the week, focus on myself and the boys and go from there. I think I need to start IC as well, with a male who focuses on infidelity. I'm afraid that this is the beginning of the end. Now she's got the upper hand financially. I will not get to live with my boys. I'm feeling defeated, big time. Another point I forgot to mention. A pair of tickets to a concert fell into my lap. She isn't into the band and didn't want to go. Strangely, the night I was gone, boom, a 1-hour call to the mystery number. When I said there was a blowout, it was her lashing out at me. It was all because I said if I take time off work, I'd rather do it when she's off. I thought it would be sweet, but she apparently found it beta dependent. I discovered that the mystery phone number in question is family. Once I realized that there doesn't appear to be a threat in regard to fidelity, and after doing some serious soul searching, I believe that the light bulb has finally went off. Even if we divorce, I will have a life. It may be miserable for a long time financially, but it will have its own benefits. I can and will find a woman who will love me, even if it takes time. My kids may suffer in the beginning, but when they grow up and we talk years down the road, they will understand. It will crush me to not be with them every day, night for a long time, and the divorce would be an absolute crap show. My family and hers will be shocked. I haven't spoken a word about this to my folks, and they are quite close with my wife. So, what I've been doing is giving her the space she has requested, and in doing so, it's given me space to sort out my own crap. She went to her first session of therapy today. Since I've been so confident and taking care of myself, it seems like she's becoming more attracted to me. I really haven't given her much of anything except talk about logistics, bills, etc. After the hell I've gone through, I'm damn near ready to go all in and demand what I need from her. You give me what I need, and if it complies with my demands, then we can talk about the future. If you don't want me, it's time to go our separate ways. If it's anyone who should be fighting for anyone, she should be fighting for me. I'm worth it. I'm a great person and a great father. To be honest, after my last bid in August, I didn't do much. Didn't go to counseling. My negative thoughts subsided for the most part and life kind of just went on. I'm a busy guy with a full-time job, 2 hours commuting, 2 kids who are growing, etc. It felt like things were 90% good. In the end, her lashing out was a good thing. I definitely think she has a lot on her mind and also think she might have some early menopause or hormonal thing going on. Maybe guilt is eating at her. I have no clue and realize that I can only control myself and can't force anything on her. I'm considering I see, but at the moment I'm feeling pretty damn good. The biggest short-term dilemma now is that she booked this trip to Vegas for our family in just a couple weeks. We live in a cold climate and the kids have spring break. If we're still at this weird stage, I don't know that I even want to go. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to bask in some sunlight, but I don't want to go on a trip and put on a fake smiley face for my kids. Speaking of which, it's strange that my older son hasn't picked up on anything like me being in a separate bedroom, lack of affection between his parents, etc. Must be good timing with all the baseball business. Bottom line, this issue is far from resolved, but if nothing else, it's been an awakening. You may think I'm a weak, pathetic beta, and there may be truth to that. My comment: we will find out if OP is a real beta or not in tomorrow's ending. Do you think he will grow a spine or not? Sub and comment down and I will catch you in the ending.